Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. Today I'm going to be going through my June wrap up. I read 22 books. Well, I've read 21 books and I had one DNF in the month of June, and I'm just going to go over them kind of quickly. I don't want this to be a 45-minute long video, but we all know I could yap for that long if given the chance. This is also in no particular order. I can't keep track of what order I read these books in. So I read Twisted and I read Wretched, which are both a part of the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. Funny story about these. Look, I was not originally planning on reading these, but then I picked these for the readathons because they're so easy to get through. Emily McIntyre's writing is just phenomenal. The pacing of her books is great because I feel like they go by so quickly. However, I did not have high hopes at all going into these books because I hated Scarred. I liked Hooked. Hooked was fun. I have a reading vlog out for it, or like a reading vlog that included that book. I did not like Scarred. I did not enjoy it, so I did not think I was going to enjoy these. However, I enjoyed them a lot more. Twisted was my favorite of the series so far just because I actually liked the characters. I cared more about them than I cared Wretched or what was it? Or Scarred. Yeah, I didn't care about any of the characters in Scarred. Wretched was okay. Twisted is probably my favorite so far. Hooked is number one though. Wretched follows Evelina. Basically, like, when you think about this one, think about the Mind F series. The FMC is truly just insane. Like, she is a psychopath for less of a reason than Lana was from the Mind F series, like, if that makes sense. So if you enjoy that vibe, then this is definitely probably something that you'll enjoy. My star rating for this one, I think I rated it, I don't know what I rated it on Goodreads, to be so honest with you. We're going off of my ratings now, okay? What I would rate these books right now. This one, given how little I think about it, is probably gonna set like a 3.5 because, like, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was a quick read. I did like Evelina as a character. I thought she was interesting to read about, but it just didn't really hit for me. It really did not hit. Then we have Twisted, which is gonna sit like a 3.75 stars, okay? Not that these books are bad, they're just genuinely, they're not like my cup of tea. Then we have The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hildebrand. This follows a woman who finds out that her cheating husband just passed away, and she heard about this story, or she heard about this like woman who held a 5-star weekend after the same thing happened to her. And basically you just like, you invite different people who are really important in your life and like different points in your lives, and like they're the stars of the weekend or whatever. And so she holds this 5-star weekend. My only issue with this book is how many POVs we get. We get like an entire cast of characters and we're hearing from almost all of them at one point or another, and it is sometimes very difficult to keep up with. I listened to the audiobook, which I think made it harder to keep up with. Aside from that, I actually really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Ellen Hildebrand's writing. I think it's in like, yeah, it's in third person omniscient, I think is what the technical term is for it. I didn't mind it. I didn't hate it. Normally when books are like that, I'm just like, I'm not that invested in the story because it's third person. I didn't get that at all. I listened to the audiobook over the course of a couple of days and I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. My rating would probably be like a 4, 3.75, kind of in that range. Don't really have anything negative to say about it. I will definitely be picking up more Ellen Hildebrand books in the future after reading this one. I really want to get into the Hotel Nantucket. Then I got into my Carly Fortune bag this summer, which was actually part of my June TBR. I kind of stuck to a June TBR, but I read Meet Me at the Lake and This Summer Will Be Different by her. Okay, look, everybody was hating on Every Summer After. I loved that book, okay? I genuinely loved that book. That book was a 5-star read for me. I read it in one sitting. I had so much fun with it. These two did not quite hit that same mark, so I read Meet Me at the Lake first, and I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. However, I really have not thought about this book nearly as much as I thought about Every Summer after reading it. That might be because I listened to the audiobook for this one, but I physically read Every Summer After. But I mean, I still enjoyed it. I rated it a 4 stars, and that rating is actually, that's gonna stick. I think about this as a 4-star read. This one had me scared though, thinking that all of Carly Fortune's books were gonna be super, super sad. This one follows a girl whose mom owns like a resort, and she did not want to be a part of this like family legacy. She told her mom at one point, like, I don't want to run the resort when you retire. I want to go open my own like hotel resort type thing. And so obviously her mom's like crushed, but then her mom passes away and she ends up having to come back and take care of the resort, where she meets this guy who her mom had hired to kind of like help take a look at some stuff before she decides if she's gonna sell or not or whatever. And the guy that her mom hires ends up being this guy that she had a little like fling with like 10 years prior to this. In Carly Fortune fashion, it's a past and present timeline, which I don't mind in her books. Sometimes it can get a little bit confusing, but most of the time I enjoy it. I liked it. I had a good time with it. It just it did not hit that same 5-star feeling like Every Summer After had for me. Then I got into This Summer Will Be Different. This was one of the last books that I read for June. This one hit the mark even less for me. I rated this one a 3 stars. Okay, so this is where grief and sadness in books becomes a catch-22, because after reading Every Summer After and Meet Me at the Lake, felt like, okay, if I get into a Carly Fortune book, I'm in for sadness. I'm in for an emotional story dealing with grief, and that's just kind of what it is. But then when we got into this one, it didn't necessarily have that element into it. So it follows a girl who gets, like, she has to come back to Prince Edward Island where her friend is supposed to be getting married, and so she's coming back because her friend's like, hey, I need you over here. Like, I need you to come and like help me out right now. I'm going through it. 10 years ago, or like a couple years ago, she ends up hooking up with her friend's brother. It becomes like this whole secret. She can't tell her friend that like she's been hooking up with her brother because she like is kind of falling in love with her brother. This one did not have the same kind of lines of grief that the other two had. And so I feel like for that reason, I was expecting it to be really sad. I was expecting to have this like, you know, super emotional driving factor in the story, and it did not have that. And I think that it did not work as well in this story, because there was one plot line in this story that I feel like if we had just taken out and we had made the book 50 pages shorter, I feel like it would have been a 5-star read for me, because I loved the MMC and I loved the FMC and I loved their struggle. But like adding this one plot line with the friend, I feel like just made it unnecessary and made it longer for no reason. So I think that's the reason why I didn't enjoy it also, or didn't enjoy it as much as the other two. Take that with what you will. It's a 3-star read for me. I would still recommend it, and I would still recommend reading all of Carly Fortune's books, but this one just was not my favorite of her list so far. Then of course, you know, I had to get into my Megan Quinn bag. I think I've read at least one of her books every month for the past couple of months, but I read Kiss and Don't Tell, which is the first book in the Vancouver Agitators series. So this follows Winnie and Pacey. She gets stranded. She's like on the way up to the mountains for a reason, and she gets stranded, and she ends up just like walking in the woods to try to find somebody to help her like get her car out of this ditch or something. She ends up coming across this house, right? So she like knocks on the door, and the door opens to like 5 hockey players. And they're part of the Vancouver Agitators is what their hockey team is called. And she has no idea that they're hockey players. She has no idea who they are. And so she ends up like staying with them for the night, and then she ends up staying with them for a lot longer than that. But there's this one hockey player, his name is Pacey, and they're getting along real well. They're getting along real well. And it's just like this cute little like cutesy little love story between this hockey player and this random chick that just like shows up at their winter house. And I loved it. I loved it. The audiobook, amazing. I always love Megan Quinn's audiobooks. They just make the books, 1, go by so quickly, but 2, they're so entertaining. Oh my goodness, I love them. I ended up rating this book a 4 stars. So good. I just didn't quite have that 5-star feeling like I normally get with a 5-star book, so that's why I didn't fully hit that mark. But there was nothing like wrong with it. I had fun with it. It just didn't really hit like a 5-star needs to hit. But if you're looking for a cute, spicy hockey romance, let's get into my one DNF of the month. Now listen, you're gonna be so angry with me when I tell you about this, but it's not my fault. It is my fault, but who's counting? Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. Look, it's not that I was not enjoying it, because I kind of was, but it just felt like things were moving so slowly in this book compared to Butcher and Blackbird. And I did the same thing with Butcher and Blackbird that I was doing with this one. I did a hybrid where I read the physical book and I listened to the audiobook for Butcher and Blackbird. I did the same thing with Leather and Lark. However, this one just was not hitting. It could have been Right Book, Wrong Time. In fact, it probably is Right Book, Wrong Time. But I had this much left. I was not enjoying it as much as I thought I was going to be. be. This is on my July TBR, like a book that I want to finish for July, but it's just not, it did not hit. It did not hit. This is the second book in the Ruinous Love trilogy, so I'm not gonna like fully explain what it's about because you meet these characters in Butcher and Blackbird. It follows the MMC's brother from Butcher and Blackbird, so if that means anything to you. Yeah, so obviously, for obvious reasons, I'm not gonna rate this book, but yeah. Then, of course, I got into some Lucy Score this month with The Dead Guy Next Door. Super cute. Had a lot of fun with it. It follows this girl named Riley Thorne who comes from a family of like psychics and just spiritual people, and she has been basically just like shutting out her gifts. Like she does not want the gifts that she has. She does not claim them. Really weird things start happening. She starts getting these like premonitions or these visions of things that she doesn't know if they're gonna happen in the future, but like she assumes or she thinks that they might. And one of the visions that she was getting was this guy, like the neighbor across the hall from her, getting unalived. And so she's like, should I take this seriously? I don't know. And then this PI ends up coming into her life. I loved it. I had so much fun with it. It was a very different vibe and tone than a normal Lucy Score book is, because normally her books deal with like some kind of serious issue. This was so unserious and I loved it. I was laughing the whole time. It was hilarious. If you're looking for a funny read, Dead Guy Next Door, I was cackling the whole time. I think my rating for this one would probably sit at like a 3.5 stars, just because like it was missing that kind of like emotional pull to it, just to kind of make it like grounded a little bit. This one was very much out there, which I mean, it just didn't hit like her other books for me. So it was a 3.5, but I still enjoyed it. I will be continuing on with the trilogy. The fourth book's coming out, so it's not a trilogy, it's a series, but you get what I'm saying. You get it. I cannot breathe right now and my ears are like clogging from it. Let's get into my like thriller reads of the month, because I did switch it up a little bit for a part of this month, because I got romanced out at one point and I did not want to read another romance at all. So these are the books that I read to kind of get out of that, just to kind of stop the romance, because the rest of this video will be romance. Anyways, I read Tender as the Flesh. Look, I have very complicated feelings with this book. Would I recommend this to anybody? No. Did I still enjoy it? Yes. One of the comments on one of my videos talking about this book literally threw me, because she was saying how you can tell this book was written by a vegan, and it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Look, I am on the carnivore diet. If you don't know what that means, I eat meat. Wait, I eat animal products. That's it. And so like, did this book sway me from that? Absolutely not. Did I still enjoy reading it? 100%. I thought it was a great book. Well, it was disgusting. It was disgusting. And I will never read this book again, but like in the best way. You know what I mean? Like there are some books, it's like, I really enjoyed that. That was great, but I'm never picking you back up again for the emotional turmoil that you put me through. That's kind of how I felt about this book. The last line, look, if you read this book and you know what I'm talking about, okay? Like if you really thought about it, that last page is not crazy. It's not. It's really not crazy at all. The line of thinking there, it made sense for the story. So I wasn't necessarily like all of that scandalized by it, but it was an interesting book. If you feel the need or the want to read it, just know, have a puke bag nearby. That's it. For that reason, this book, I think I ended up rating it like a 4 stars, something like that. It was good. It was a 4-star book for me. I can't even say I enjoyed it, which is like my normal thing to say. Like, I didn't enjoy it. Okay, let's just get that straight. I did not enjoy my time reading it, but I read it and I liked it. I have to pick my terminology there very, very closely. Then I read One by One by Frida McFadden. Here is the thing, okay? I made a video talking about this like I think a month or 2 ago. I am just Frida McFadden out, okay? She has I think like 19 or 20 books out. I've read almost all of them, and I read a bulk of them at the end of May, something like that. And so I picked this book up in like the middle of June just to see like, okay, am I gonna enjoy her books again? And this one did not hit. I think this is by far her weakest book so far. She didn't necessarily hit. The epilogue, I would rate this like a 2.5 stars. Now looking back on it, to be so honest with you, I don't think about this book at all. I'm not gonna go back and reread it. It's just gonna, if that makes sense. I do still think Freida McFadden is a worthwhile author if you just want something bingeable to get through. If you just want to get through a book so quickly, go pick up a Freida McFadden book, okay? Most of them are on Kindle Unlimited. You can get the audiobooks for pretty cheap too if you download them on Kindle Unlimited and then go to Audible. That's what I typically do, and it's just, it is what it is. You know what I mean? There are better. She's written better. Then I also read No Exit by Taylor Adams. This was my second Taylor Adams book, and it did not disappoint. I enjoyed this book quite like immensely. I listened to the first half and then I read the second half, and I loved it. I had so much fun with it. There were some parts that were, again, a little like outlandish. However, I feel like it just worked. It worked for me. I enjoyed it. There was a little bitty part, like I think towards the end of the middle, felt a little dragged on. So for that reason, it did not get a 5-star read for me like The Last Word did. The Last Word by Taylor Adams is phenomenal. If you have not read the book yet, I would absolutely say please go and read it. I was having literal heart palpitations while trying to read that book. This one did not give me the same feeling. However, I still really, really enjoyed it. She has to stop at this like rest stop. She ends up getting stranded there, and she sees a child in the back of a van. That is like the beginning premise of this book, and so good. So good. Then the last thriller that I read of the month was The Silent Patient. I loved this book. Okay, the audiobook, phenomenal. If you have trouble getting into the physical version of this book, try the audiobook. It is amazing. I love the narrator. It's just, oh my gosh, this was so good. I am actually kind of mad that I started this book. I started this, I want to say, back in like November, December, and I didn't finish it until now. And I'm really upset about that because I absolutely loved this book. This is about a woman who, her husband, and then doesn't say anything else after that. She does not speak. And there's like this therapist who's trying to get her to speak. Look, the only thing I will say is I guessed the big plot twist for this, okay? Now, this just might be me because I am paranoid. I am a paranoid person in general, okay? I think a lot. I be thinking, okay? And not in like a philosophical thought daughter way, you know what I mean? Like, I just am anxious, and so I think about everything that could possibly go wrong ever. And so after, like, I want to say halfway through this book, I was like, this is probably what's actually happening. This is what's going on. I'd be surprised if this isn't what happened. Sure enough, it did happen. And I don't like count that against the book because I don't think it was actually something that like you could see coming, if that makes sense. This in my crazy brain, this doesn't make sense, but this feels like this is what happened. So that's how I guessed it. It wasn't like I accurately deduced from the clues that were given. No, I just am crazy. Truest thing I've said all day. Anyways, honestly, I would probably rate that book a 5 star. I would go back and reread that multiple times, given like, I don't like going back and rereading thrillers because I already know what's going to happen, but I would reread that simply because I love the writing, the sentence structure. There was something about it that just like scratched an itch in my brain that I loved, and I loved the overall story. So, The Silent Patient, 10 out of 10. Absolutely loved it. Okay, we're gonna rapid fire through the rest of these books because I feel like I've been talking for so long. Then I read The Accidental Dating Experiment by Lauren Blakely. I got, like, the audiobook was free on Audible, so I read it. I listened to it because I know people are gonna be like, you didn't actually read it, you listened to it. Shut up. Anyways, I enjoyed it. It was kind of like a hit or a miss. It was like a 3-star read for me. I didn't really feel anything towards it. I was just kind of like, it honestly might have been because I was listening to this while I was actively moving. Like, we were literally moving things back and forth, and so I was just kind of like stressed and listening to the book. So that might not be like a point against the book itself. It could have just been, again, right book, wrong time for me. They have like this romance dating talk show. Somebody that listens to their talk show gives them the deed to a house that she owns, and so they like go to like renovate it to sell it or whatever. And yeah, it was good. It just wasn't 5-star worthy. I talked about this book on my TikTok a little bit, but I wanted to talk about it here for all of my Christian girlies that are looking for like Christian romance authors that like have more of like a Christ is a bigger part in the book. Pieces of Forever by Valerie Bowden. I found this just like randomly scrolling on Kindle and I absolutely loved it. It follows this girl who was a model and she ends up like having this big accident that left her face like severely scarred, and she was having a really hard time grappling with that. On top of that, she lost her parents. She doesn't have like her parents with her, so she lives with her aunt, and her aunt is not very religious at all. Like, she, I think, believes in God, but she just like, she has not gone to the church. She does not go to church at all. And so there's just, the romance in this was the sweetest thing I've ever read. It is so, the pacing of this was perfect to me. Like, it felt like, I don't know how to explain it. It just felt like I was there. The writing, so surreal. I absolutely loved it. It's like a cute little mountain town. He's a vet. He is a vet. Okay, like an actual like veterinarian. He takes care of animals. That to me was the cutest thing ever. If you guys are looking for, like I said, a romance where it's more like Christ-centered, so they're actively like praying for things, and like it was my first book that I had read where Christ played a really big part of both of their internal dialogues. I absolutely loved it. I will be reading, this is a series, I believe. I will be reading the rest of the series, and I will be reading more from Valerie Bowden, Valerie M. Bowden. I really hope I'm saying her name right. I feel like I'm not, but it's a River Falls novel. So my Christian girlies, if you're looking for books like this, there's one. Okay, then I read The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I absolutely love Christina Lauren, getting into more of their books. I actually just got sent The Paradise Problem, so I probably will be starting that at some point this month. But I absolutely had so much fun with this book. It is a 4-star read for me. It follows these two people who don't like each other, okay? But her sister is marrying his brother, and they do not get along. FMC and the MMC of this book. They do not get along at all, okay? Well, after her sister and his brother's wedding, they all get food poisoning, so they can't go on their honeymoon. That's where they come in. The FMC and the MMC of this book goes on the honeymoon that their recently sibling could not go on. But they don't like each other. The tension, immaculate. The banter, immaculate. So good. So good. Then I also read Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. I finally got to it. Shout out to Bestie Bailey if you're watching this. She's the one that sent me this. It's so good. It's so good. Okay, do I like it more than Done and Dusted? I don't think so. But actually, no, I take that back. I think I might. Because I liked the FMC in this book a little bit more than Clementine from Done and Dusted. This follows a girl who comes into town because she is hired to work on this like ranch, and Wes is the one that she's like working with because he is part owners of the ranch, like his dad owns the ranch. She does not want a relationship in any capacity, and he's just like, I will do whatever you tell me to do. If you told me to crawl on all fours, I would. And that's the kind of energy that we need. I love that energy. That honestly, good for her. Good for her, okay? My only strife with this book is that it did feel a little insta-lovey on his part, because they had literally met one time, and the next time they met, he was like all in for her. Sometimes it can be icky. Sometimes it works. I'm not convinced that it didn't work. I'm also not convinced that it did work. So I don't know how I feel about it. For that reason, this book is going to get like a 4-star. Like a 3.75 to 4, somewhere between those two. I normally just round up with the ratings, but it was good. It was really good. I enjoyed it. If you're looking for a quick book to get through for your reading goal, pick up a Lila Sage book. Getting into Miss LJ Shen. I've read 2 of her books. Well, one book was hers, one she co-authored, but I read The Devil Wears Black by LJ Shen. I did not think I was going to enjoy this book as much as I did, but I loved it. It follows this girl who all of a sudden her ex pops up back into her life. Get this, the ex that cheated on her, right? And he tells her like, look, my dad, he's getting ready to move on to the next life. And I kind of told my family that we were engaged, so I need you to pretend to be my fiance. I'll pay you handsomely. And she's like, I want to kick you in the nards for how our last interaction went together. There's no shot in hell I am being your fake fiance. And he's like, you'll do it though. And she's like, okay, you're right, but like, you know what I mean? Yeah, they end up being fake fiancés, and they start to learn more about each other than they did the last time around. And it's just, it's so good. It's also oddly emotional. There were some emotional parts in this book. I was not expecting to be like almost in tears by the end of this book, but I was. So for that reason, 4.5 stars. Yep. Yes, sir. Okay, now my next read by LJ Shen. My Dark Desire by Parker S. Huntington and L.J. Shen. Listen to me and listen to me good. Y'all thought I loved My Dark Romeo? I did. This one, to me, 10 times better. The reason being is because I felt like I got bamboozled to some degree, okay? Look, listen to this. Whenever I first started this book, like, I want to say 50 to 100 pages into it, I was like, tell me why I like Zachary's son, the MMC. Tell me why I like him again, because he is literally like watching paint dry. He is the most boring character ever. Then you start to read more and you're like, oh, he kind of has a reason for this. Like, you know he has a reason for it at the beginning, but like, you start to learn more things about him and you start to, he kind of grows on you a little bit. When I tell you by the end of this book, I was wanting to sob for him. Not to mention the FMC, I just love her. I love both of them. This book, top 10 books of the year for me. It will stay on that list. I absolutely loved it. I tabbed the crap out of it. I love it. If you guys love banter, emotional, he has PTSD, okay, from something, and he can't be touched by anybody. He literally has a panic attack, freak out if people touch him. She's the only one that can touch him. And so he's like, please fix me. And she's like, well, I guess like I'm getting kind of a relationship out of this. So like, I'll do it, whatever. Like, I'll work with you. I love this book so much. If you don't listen to anything else that I say, please listen to this. This is golden. Golden. Last 4 books, I promise. Then I read Twisted Games by Anna Huang. Listen to me, okay? I hated Twisted Love. I severely disliked King of Wrath is the first one. Yeah. Did not have high hopes going into this, but Reese Larson, the man that you are, I loved it. I loved it. If you've been living under a rock and you have no idea what this book is about, it follows Reese Larson and Bridget. I forgot what her last name is. I really don't care, to be honest with you. He is her bodyguard because she is the princess of, I was about to say Endovier, but that's definitely not it. Although it does give Princess Diaries vibes. But I think it's Eldora is the thing that she's princess of. Eldora has a rule. You're only allowed to date somebody who's like a royal. You're only allowed to marry somebody who is a royal. And of course, they end up like falling for each other. And he's like, ugh, I'm older than you. I shouldn't be loving you. And she's like, ugh, I love you, but I'm gonna be queen and I can't love you. And it's just drama, but I liked it. My only issue with it was that it could have been like 50 to 100 pages shorter and I probably would have loved it more. I ended up rating it like a 4-star read. If it was 100 pages shorter, it would have been a 5-star read for sure. Some bits felt like they dragged on quite a bit, but I did kind of like the politic-y stuff. Politic-y is crazy. I did like the politics in here. Then I read The Magnolia Inn by Anne-Marie Meyer. Her mom sends her to this inn to like get it ready to be sold because her mom doesn't want to keep it because her mom does not like this town. She does not want to step foot in it. And so the FMC's job is to come in and to basically just like renovate this inn so that it can be sold. Well, she ends up meeting these 2 people, this brother and this sister. Of course, she starts having a little thing with the brother and she starts becoming really good friends with the sister. And it's just a cutesy, quick, little fun beach read. I read it because it was giving very much summer vibes. And I've read another Anne-Marie Meyer book and I really enjoyed it and went by really quickly. So I figured I would pick this one up. Did not disappoint. I would rate it a 3 stars just because like it didn't quite hit, but it was not bad by any means. I don't really have any issues with this book, to be honest with you. Okay, then I also read Weak Side by S.J. Silvis. She ends up getting paired with him to be his roommate in college. You might ask, they don't have co-ed dorms. Well, I guess they, I don't know. Do they have co-ed dorms places? Anyways, I don't think they do, but she ended up being like his literal roommate. And they're like, they don't like each other. They keep getting on each other's nerves. She has a boyfriend, so like boyfriend's not happy about the situation. Romance things happen from there. It wasn't my favorite. I'd rate it like a 3 stars. I didn't really feel anything towards it. Again, it was just kind of like, wasn't bad, wasn't great. Didn't have any issues with it. But yeah, I didn't really have any strong feelings towards it. And last but not least, we have A Very Un-Shakespeare Romance by Ava Miles. Very, very much enjoyed this book. It follows a guy who ends up like getting this note from his cousin that's like, hey, yo, I gotta leave. I need you to take care of my 2 girls. Like, take care of them, please. I have everything set up for you. You just have to take them to this place and just make sure that nobody gets to them because cousin, she is in it deep, okay? There's this whole plot line with the FBI, I think it is, with some other government entity that's like watching him and is like thinking that he's a crooked cop and all this stuff. And so, it is a great beachy romance read if you're looking for something that's like more on the action-y side but still very much a romance. Pick it up, pick it up. That was my June wrap up. I know, quite a bit. I'm so sorry if that like dragged on a little bit. My bad. I like to yap. I was gonna show you my TBR for July, but most of these that I'm reading are 4 videos, so you're gonna see it anyways. But yeah, that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed. What were y'all's 5-star favorite reads of June? Let me know, please. I want to know. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will, if you guys want to see my face on any other place on the internet, I'll have all the links in my description as always, and I will see you guys in the next one.